Think of Sweet Caroline or Don't Stop Believin. It was a period when radio reigned, before a car commercial, a social music sharing platform, or Glee were all equally probable ways for a song to become popular. But there are still some amazing 1960s songs that have vanished with the time. Watch the video until the end to not miss the last song. Do you remember Brian Epstein? The manager of the Beatles handled the Cyrkle, and John Lennon gave them their nickname. Their biggest hit was the number 2 single, Red Rubber Ball, written by Paul Simon, which is still played on oldies radio stations.
I should have known you bid me farewell.
In terms of sustained exposure, Turn Down Day hasn't fared well over time. But it's a beautiful musical portrait of its era, and the fact that someone publishes music like this on YouTube, where tens of thousands of people watch it, demonstrates that some people haven't forgotten it. The Edwin Hawkins Singers were actually the Northern California State Youth Choir, and Oh Happy Day came from an album they made, titled Let Us Go Into the House of the Lord, to privately sell to raise funds for a choir trip. However, their small print run of 500 copies was insufficient until a local DJ at KSAN in San Francisco began playing the song. Buddha Records signed them to distribute it nationally, and renamed the choir the Edwin Hawkins Singers, and the song went on to sell over 1 million copies. The song also inspired George Harrison to create My Sweet Lord, along with presumably He's So Fine. However, the commercialization of gospel music sparked considerable concern. What do you think the impact of Oh Happy Day has been on modern music history? The style of this song may sound familiar, but it was unique at the time. Oh Happy Day helped pioneer the black gospel sound that is now widely used in modern worship. The Edwin Hawkins Singers returned to the top 10 with Melanie's 1970 song Lay Down Candles in the Rain. Joe Jeffrey from Cleveland is not a household name, and finding information about him or his band is difficult. That's what having only one hit will do for you. He did record a rendition of British group White Plains' My Baby Loves Lovin' that was released a week earlier in the United States, but his attempt to steal their chart thunder failed as his version ranked just outside the top 100, while White Plains reached number 13.
My baby loves love, my baby loves love.
His label, Wand, did release a low-selling LP with the same title as his successful single, with the liner notes touting it as the best all-around pop album since Sgt. Pepper. Good tune though. Have you listened to their albums? Although the music is best known for the Four Tops cover version, the original has a lo-fi, unpolished appeal. What the sing-along chorus lacks in Four Tops' proficiency, it compensates for the Baroque bravado. The song peaked at number 5 on the US singles chart, and while the group sank into oblivion after that, their breakthrough success was significant enough to keep them in the industry to this day. But ask yourself, would their legacy have been different if they had managed to sustain their success? James and Bobby Purify have been referred to as Sam and Dave without the ugly and offensive sweat. They were a poppier version of the iconic soul duo, as evidenced by their second highest charting record. They were best known for the singles I'm Your Puppet and Shake a Tail Feather, the latter of which peaked only at number 25. However, Let Love Come Between Us is the hit that radio has inexplicably left behind for some reason.
Baby, I found a way.
James Purify and Robert Lee Dickey were cousins, rather than brothers. Bob Dylan is an artist whose songs have been covered more often than the parts of a Japanese blue movie. Some of those covers have been fantastic, while others make you wonder, why bother?
You must leave now, take what you need, you think will last.
Their rendition of It's All Over Now is a classic. The atmosphere is entirely reimagined, while a teenage Van Morrison captures the biting edge of Bob's wailing vocals, all driven by a bass line as calm and heavy as a leaden tumbleweed. Jim and Kathy Post were husband and wife. Appreciate the great song and delve into its message, my friend. This one really evokes the spirit of flower power, the post-Sgt. Pepper age of Aquarius, and so on, what you might call the Indian summer of love.
I think it's so groovy now that people are finally getting together.
However, it lacked a certain cool factor to earn it a place on movie soundtracks and similar platforms, unlike songs such as Let's Get Together, Time of the Season, and Good Morning Starshine did. Do you remember the rock band The Five Americans from the 1960s? This Dallas-based band became best known for their 1967 hit Western Union, which reached the top 20 of the Billboard Hot 100. Some other hits they had were I See the Light and Sound of Love. They had a distinctive sound that combined elements of garage rock, pop, and psychedelic music. The influence of bands like the Hollies and the Byrds is clearly audible in their music, as noted in the original passage. While they may not have been as well known as some of their contemporaries, the Five Americans left a lasting impression. The Seekers, an Australian folk pop group from the 1960s, broke through with the song I'll Never Find Another You in 1965, which brought them worldwide success.
There's a new world somewhere.
The song reached the top 10 of the charts in several countries. Their most famous song, Georgie Girl, was released in 1966 and became a massive hit, further increasing their fame. It reached #1 positions in the United States and Australia. Have you ever heard a song by the Seekers? And if so, what is your favorite song by this band? The song Maroon is a unique lyrical rhyme pattern that has a delightful charm, yet the expertise displayed in the jazz performance made one of the greats, David Bowie, a massive fan.
Think of the times, the number of times that you can make rhymes with that friend.
The piece was included in David Bowie's curated lineup at the Highline Festival and played by Alex Turner and Josh Homme on Apple Music's The Alligator Hour. Ken Nordine is known as the creator of word jazz. He unfortunately passed away in 2019. Maybe it was his originality that drew the greats toward his music. The Young Rascals were an American soul and rock group from the 1960s, formed by Felix Cavaliere, Gene Cornish, Dino Danelli, and Eddie Brigatti. They formed in New York City and released their first minor hit, I Ain't Gonna Eat Out My Heart Anymore, followed by the #1 single, Good Lovin'. The band matured as songwriters and released other hit songs, including Groovin', It's Wonderful, How Can I Be Sure, and A Beautiful Morning. Their best remembered song was People Got to Be Free, a plea for racial tolerance. The group disbanded in 1972, and Cavaliere released several solo albums. Brigatti and Danelli worked together in other groups and joined Steve Van Zandt in Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul in 1982. The West Coast pop art experimental band, an American psychedelic rock band from the 1960s. The song I Won't Hurt You was released in 1966 on their debut album, Part 1. This song stood out like a sore thumb on an album full of covers.
I've lost all of my pride.
And strangely, like Jacques Dutronc's composition, it appears to capture the mood of America's West Coast, despite the fact that the album failed to register on the charts. Wes Anderson, the whimsical king of Hollywood, has given the track's pulsating heart rhythm and softer-than-silk aural overlay a new life. In actuality, it's very much his feel, and there's not a single hair out of place when it comes to the creative aim of this music. The 1960s were a great era of music, marked by upheaval, revolution, and iconic songs, ranging from the funky sounds of Motown to the hallucinogenic harmonies of Woodstock. Which song from the 1960s evokes nostalgic feelings for you? We hope you enjoyed the video. Show your support by giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel so you never miss another exciting video from us.